You are sitting here, maybe in a familiar room, maybe in a strange place, but in your heart, there is a weariness that no one understands. You've smiled when you wanted to cry. You've said, "I'm fine," so many times that even you started to believe the lie. But deep inside, you are tired of holding everything together, of pretending, of surviving. Today, Jesus wants to meet you and take you on a special journey, one that doesn't require you to be strong, but only to be present. So wherever you are, whatever time it is, pause. Share your heart in the comments. Whisper a prayer, or simply breathe. The journey begins now. He's here. You sense it, though no one else sees. He kneels beside you, his presence quiet but unshakable. He says, "Come, let me show you something." You don't even have the strength to question it. You just nod. He takes your hand. Suddenly, the air shifts. Everything around you fades, the walls, the weight, the world, and you are standing beside a quiet shore at dusk. The light is warm and golden. You smell the salt in the breeze. The sand presses soft beneath your feet. You look beside you. He's there. Ahead, a small group of men sit in silence, their faces drawn, eyes heavy with dread. The air is thick with the weight of something unspeakable. You hear him speak, his voice gentle but firm. "Peace, I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." John 14:27. You realize these are his last words to his closest friends before the cross. They are anxious, afraid, just like you. You look at their faces and then back at him. There's no panic in his eyes, only peace, the kind that doesn't ignore suffering, but speaks straight through it. His hand rests on Peter's shoulder, then James's, then John's. Then he turns to you. He steps closer. And now you feel it. That same peace radiating from his presence. He places his hand on your chest, right over the place where anxiety lives, like a knot His eyes lock with yours. This peace is also for you. And for the first time in days, maybe weeks, something loosens inside you. It doesn't make sense, not in this world, but you feel it, a quiet settling, a stillness like the storm inside you no longer has to win. He whispers, "I see the storm in your mind, but my voice calm storm. I see the fear you don't say out loud, but I hold every unspoken thought, and I have not come to give you a peace that depends on outcomes. I've come to give you myself." You close your eyes. You feel your heartbeat slow. Your shoulders, once tense, begin to soften. You are still in the same world. The same problems await, but something has changed. You are not alone in them. He is here, and his peace is stronger than your fear. You open your eyes. The disciples are gone. The sea remains. The light deepens into twilight. Jesus takes your hand again. You don't ask where you're going. You don't need to know. His presence is enough. He smiles. "Come," he says. "There's more I want to show you." The shoreline blurs. The wind begins to stir. You step forward into the next door of time. It's hard to even explain it anymore. The feeling of being overwhelmed. Maybe you've kept up the appearance of functioning, but inside, it's like you're drowning. There's always something pressing in expectations, regrets, unspoken fears, or the quiet ache of feeling like no one truly sees what you carry. You've prayed, but felt silence. You've cried, but only the pillow knows. And some nights, you wonder, how much longer can I keep this up? Jesus doesn't speak loudly. He simply reaches for your hand. His touch is calm, steady. Let me show you. You don't resist. You're too tired to. And maybe a small part of you wants to believe that peace is possible. As he holds your hand, everything begins to shift. The walls around you dissolve into water deep, endless, swirling, but you're not afraid. His grip holds you steady. It's as if you're walking through the sea itself. The current brushes against your legs, but you don't sink. Instead, the water begins to part. You find yourself at the edge of a river wide, untamed, and roaring. The Jordan. You look around. Thousands stand nearby, their faces weary, their belongings clutched tight. You hear whispers, fear, doubt, years of wandering that have left deep marks on their souls. They've been waiting so long for this promise, but now they face water too deep, too wild to cross. Beside you, Isaiah's voice rises clear, prophetic, and certain. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. Isaiah 43:2. You turn, the Ark of the Covenant begins to move forward, carried by priests. As their feet touch the river, something miraculous happens. The waters pull back, revealing dry ground. The people gasp and begin walking forward. You look into their eyes. They are scared, but hopeful, exhausted, but stepping forward anyway. Then Jesus leans close and whispers. They're walking, not because the river stopped, but because they know I go before them. You glance down at your own life, the river of unfinished tasks, unmet expectations, disappointments, hidden shame. It's wide. It's loud. You've tried so hard to swim, to stay above it all. But now, He's holding you. You don't have to fight the current anymore. He says, you are not alone in this. I am the one who walks through the waters with you. When you feel like you're drowning, I'm the solid ground beneath your feet. You watch as the Israelites cross, not with confidence, but with obedience. Each step is shaky, but forward. And somehow, that gives you courage too. Maybe peace isn't the absence of water, but the presence of someone stronger in the middle of it. You feel the strength of His grip again, like an anchor in chaos. The current may still swirl around you in life, but in this moment, you realize something important. The water never had the power to destroy you. He's always been in it with you. You close your eyes. You breathe. For the first time in a long time, you let the weight fall off your shoulders. you're not walking alone. You never were. Jesus gently squeezes your hand. The river fades. The roar quiets. And ahead of you, the next door begins to appear, not grand or glowing, but still and steady. A doorway to rest, a passage to deeper peace. He looks at you again. Come, child, there's more. You've been running on empty, not just for days, but for what feels like years. The exhaustion isn't just in your body, it's in your soul. Some mornings, you wake up more tired than when you fell asleep. You go through the motions, smile when you're supposed to, but deep inside, you're numb. It's not just tiredness. It's a quiet ache, a sense of being worn out from hoping, from carrying pain no one sees. You don't remember the last time you felt light, and now you feel like you can't go another step. Then you feel it, a presence beside you. Quiet, gentle, steady. Jesus kneels down to your level. His eyes meet yours. They are not filled with pressure or disappointment, only understanding. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. The words fall not just into your ears, but into the deep places inside you, the places no one has reached for a long time. You don't speak, you just exhale, and even that feels like a release you've been holding back. He places his hand beneath yours. As he lifts you, the wind begins to stir. It's not cold. It carries warmth, like sunlight being poured through the air. The weariness in your limbs doesn't disappear, but it begins to shift. Not gone, but shared. And suddenly, you're no longer in your room. You're sitting on a grassy hill. The sun is beginning to set, painting the sky in soft tones of gold and lavender. Around you, others are seated, men, women, children. Their faces bear the lines of pain, just like yours. But there's something else in them now, peace. You see a woman beside you. Wipe her eyes. But her tears are different, not bitter, not afraid. They are release. One man sits with his hands open on his knees, eyes closed, like the weight on his back has finally slipped off. Another clutches Jesus' words like treasure. Then you realize you're not the only one who came here weary. You're surrounded by the worn out, the anxious, the heartbroken, and He has gathered them, all of you, with one invitation. Come to me. Jesus sits among them, among you. There is no throne, no grand gesture, just presence. He doesn't fix everything in an instant, but He offers something even deeper: rest. Not the kind that comes from escaping, but the kind that comes from finally letting go. He turns to you. You've carried this long enough. You were never meant to hold it alone. And with that, you begin to feel it like a breath returning to your soul, like a slow exhale after holding your lungs too tight. You don't have to be strong here. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't even need to speak. Just be. Just breathe. You realize rest doesn't begin with sleep. It begins with surrender. And in this moment, in this place, you surrender the heaviness. The hill begins to quiet. The wind calms. Jesus stands. The others begin to rise too. Not rushed, not pressured, just ready. He reaches for your hand again. Let's keep walking, he says. His voice is calm, not commanding, but inviting. And you know, this journey isn't about how strong you are. It's about how close He stays. You take His hand. Ahead, the horizon softens. Another doorway appears, edged in stillness, wrapped in hope. You step toward it, not running, but resting. You've been trying so hard to figure everything out. There are decisions waiting, expectations pressing in, questions echoing in your heart. What if I choose wrong? What if I fall again? What if I don't even know what I'm doing anymore? The path ahead feels like a blur. You don't see the road. And sometimes, you're not even sure where the road begins. You try to pray, but even the words feel stuck. You whisper, God, I don't know where I'm going. And then Jesus steps forward. He doesn't offer a map. He doesn't explain every step. He simply looks at you, gently places His hand over yours, and says, I know. His voice is sure. His eyes are kind. light begins to rise behind him, not blinding, but pure. He opens a door not to answers, but to presence. And as you step through, everything shifts. You are standing in a wide, open field. The grass bends gently in the breeze. The sun is warm, casting long shadows across the hills. There are sheep scattered across the pasture, each moving with a calm you didn't know was possible. You watch as the shepherd walks among them, his voice soft but commanding. They know it. They turn when he calls. They follow when he moves. There's no panic in their eyes, only trust. You see him pause beside one sheep who had wandered too far. He kneels. He doesn't scold. He speaks the name of that sheep, and the sheep lifts its head and walks back, close. You feel something stir inside you. Jesus turns to you and says, I am the good shepherd. John 10:11. I lay down my life for the sheep, and I know mine by name. He steps closer and places a hand over your heart. I know you by name. For a moment, you don't speak. You just let the words echo. You are not lost. You are led. The questions haven't vanished. The unknowns haven't disappeared. But something deeper is rising now, a knowing that you are not wandering alone in the dark. There is a shepherd, and he walks ahead of you. You remember the times when you strayed, when you thought you ruined everything, but he brings no condemnation, only guidance. You recall the silent nights when you begged for direction, and now you realize he was closer than you knew, waiting for you to pause and listen. He walks ahead, but never too far. He walks behind, but never out of reach. He walks beside, always watching, even when you don't know where you're going. He says, I always know where I'm leading you. The sheep begin to lie down, not because everything is perfect, but because they trust the one who watches. And you begin to feel the urge to rest too, to stop striving, to stop searching for your own way, to simply follow. He takes your hand again. The wind carries the scent of grass and stillness. Ahead, Another door appears, this one framed in green, with sunlight pouring through. It looks like peace. It feels like home. Come, Jesus says, there is rest in being led. You step forward, not because all is clear, but because He is. And that is enough. There's a tension in your chest you can't explain. Even in moments of quiet, your mind never stops moving, replaying conversations, dreading tomorrow, analyzing what went wrong. You lie down at night, but never really rest. Even in stillness, your soul races. You've forgotten what peace feels like, not because you don't long for it, but because you've been in survival mode for too long. You want to stop, but you don't know how. And then you feel His hand on your shoulder. It's warm, steady, present. Jesus leans in, close enough for you to feel His breath on your skin. Let me help you breathe again. The weight in your chest doesn't disappear, but it begins to shift. Your body exhales without asking permission. The noise inside your mind softens, and sleep begins to fall over your soul like a gentle mist. Then, in a dream, the world around you changes. You're in a desert, the air dry and restless, wind sweeping dust across your face. But ahead, you see the shape of a man, huddled near the edge of a cave, eyes hollow, breath ragged. David, the warrior, the king, the man after God's own heart, is hiding. You watch him press his hands against the stone wall. He's been running for too long, running from Saul, from fear, from the weight of calling. His strength is gone, and just when he thinks no one sees him, you hear a whisper, not from David, but from within your own spirit. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23, 2. Suddenly, the scene changes. Where there was sand, there is now green. Soft grass spreads in every direction. A quiet breeze moves like the breath of God Himself. You see David again, this time lying down not in fear, but in rest. His eyes are closed. His sword is beside him, untouched. He isn't running anymore. And then you notice you're lying beside him. Jesus is here too, sitting between you both, like a shepherd watching over his sheep. He looks at you, eyes full of mercy. I didn't ask you to figure it all out. He says, I asked you to let me lead you to rest. You try to speak, to explain why you can't stop, why you have to keep going, why there's too much to fix. But he puts a finger gently over your lips. You don't need to earn rest. You only need to receive it. And just like that, the rushing inside you begins to slow. Your thoughts settle, not because everything is solved, but because he is here. You feel the ground beneath you. You hear the soft rustle of leaves. The past fades. The future quiets. You're here, in this moment, with him. You lie down, truly lie down, for the first time in what feels like ages. Your body still carries scars. Your mind still holds questions. But your soul is starting to remember what peace feels like. A shepherd's voice. Still waters. Green pastures. Rest. Not because the journey is over, but because the shepherd is watching. Time slows. You breathe. When you open your eyes again, the green fades into golden light. Another door appears ahead, soft, steady, calling you forward. Jesus stands, then turns to you and extends his hand. Come, he says, there's more I want to show you. And this time, you follow not from pressure, but from peace. You've been strong for so long, holding everything together for your family, your job, your church, your friends, smiling when you feel like collapsing, nodding when someone says, you're doing great, even though you can barely breathe inside. You've become so good at carrying it that no one sees you're falling apart. But Jesus does. He sits with you in the quiet, saying nothing at first. He doesn't rush you. He doesn't fix you. He just sees you, the unraveling behind your eyes, the cracks you've tried to hide. And then he speaks. Let me show you a woman who thought she was unworthy too. He places his hand on your shoulder. The sounds around you fade, and suddenly you're in the middle of a crowded street. It's hot, Dust swirls around your feet. People press in from every side, voices raised, bodies shifting, trying to get closer to one man. Then you see her. She's bent low, shoulders tense, her eyes darting between the crowd and the ground. You notice how she avoids eye contact, how she clutches her cloak around her like armor. She's been bleeding for 12 years, cast aside, considered unclean, forgotten. But still, she's here. You watch her crawl, slow and desperate, toward the rabbi in the center. Her hands shake, her body is weak, but her faith is alive, small, but burning. She reaches out barely and brushes the hem of his robe. The moment stills. Jesus stops. Everyone goes silent. The air tightens with tension. Then his voice, not angry, not startled, but tender. Who touched me? She tries to shrink into the crowd, but she can't. You see it in her eyes, the fear, the shame, the worry that her touch was too bold, too broken, and yet Jesus doesn't look angry. He looks honored. She steps forward, trembling, falling at his feet, and he says the words that undo her shame forever. Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. Luke 8:48. The name daughter echoes through the air like a healing balm. She wasn't scolded. She was claimed. You feel Jesus standing beside you now. He looks into your eyes, straight through the strength you've been pretending to carry, and says, your brokenness doesn't disqualify you. Your faith is enough. You feel something in you crack, not in a destructive way, but in a freeing one. You don't have to keep pretending. You don't have to be unbreakable to be loved. Tears rise, but they don't burn with shame. They fall with release. You're not whole yet, but you're not hiding anymore. You see the woman again standing now, taller, lighter, not because her body is fully restored, but because her identity is. She knows she is seen. She knows she is loved. And you know now, so are you. Jesus gently takes your hand. The crowd fades. The dusty street becomes a quiet path. Ahead, the next door appears open and waiting. He doesn't push you. He walks with you. You step forward, not fully healed, but fully his. You've been holding it all together on the outside, at least, but inside, something is buckling. The grief you've tucked away, the regret you never spoke aloud, the pressure to be okay even when you're not, it all weighs heavier with each passing day. You've tried to stay strong, tried to carry it quietly, telling yourself, I'll deal with it later. But later never comes, and now your heart is tired. You don't even realize you're trembling until Jesus sits beside you. He doesn't lecture. He doesn't scold. He simply stays. Then, in a quiet voice that feels like rest itself, he speaks, "Cast all your anxieties on me, because I care for you." 1 Peter 7. You shut your eyes, a breath catches in your throat. Prayer rises not with eloquence, but with desperation. You whisper words that barely make it past your lips, words you didn't even know were in you. And then the space around you begins to shift. The ground beneath you softens. The air smells of fire and salt. You open your eyes and find yourself on the shore of Galilee. Early in the morning, the sun is just beginning to rise. The sea is calm, lapping gently against the rocks. And then you see him, Peter. He sits apart from the others. There's a fire burning, fish cooking. Jesus stands nearby, but Peter's eyes stay low, shoulders stiff, with something deeper than shame. You recognize that posture, the way failure buries itself deep into someone's soul. He had denied Jesus 3 times. Even now, though the resurrection has already happened, he still carries the weight of that night. Jesus calls to him gently, "Peter, do you love me?" 3 times, 1 for each denial. Each time, Peter answers, not with boldness, but with the fragile honesty of someone desperate to be restored. And Jesus doesn't turn away. He doesn't bring up Peter's failure to shame him. He brings it up to heal him. "Feed my sheep," Jesus says. He isn't just forgiving Peter. He's trusting him again. You feel the words of 1 Peter 5:7 echo inside your heart again. But this time, it's not just a verse. It's a lived experience. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. And in that moment, you kneel beside the fire. You look at all the weight you've been carrying, the unspoken disappointments, the guilt you don't talk about, the heavy cloak of control, and for the first time, you truly let go. You say the name of what hurts. You lay it down, one burden at a time, and he takes each one, not with a sigh, but with joy. Jesus turns toward you, eyes full of love. There's freedom in surrender. He says, "You were never meant to carry this alone. You rise to your feet. Something has shifted, not in your circumstances, but in your soul. You feel lighter, not because the pain is gone, but because the weight of carrying it alone isn't yours anymore." You look back at Peter, who now walks with Jesus down the shoreline, shoulders straighter, heart no longer buried by regret. And then you see the door ahead. It creaks open, as if it's been waiting for you. Jesus extends his hand once more. "Come," he says, "let's keep walking." And this time, your hands are empty, finally free to receive. You feel like no one sees you anymore. You're surrounded by people at work, in church, even at home, but somehow still feel invisible. Your pain is quiet, your thoughts never fully spoken. The ache of loneliness wraps around you like fog, slow, thick, numbing. You don't want to make it about you. You don't want to burden anyone. So you stay silent and alone. But Jesus leans in. You don't hear thunder. There's no dramatic rescue. Just a whisper, low and steady, like a heartbeat near your ear. You are never unseen. Suddenly, the fog begins to shift. You're no longer in your room, but deep inside a cave, cool, dark, hidden. The only sound is your breath and the faint echo of water somewhere in the distance. You're not alone in the cave. Someone is there, kneeling, his back to the wall, his head in his hands. David, not the king, not the giant slayer, but the fugitive, hunted, afraid, forgotten by people, but not by God. You can almost feel the pulse of his emotions, the ache in his bones from running, the sorrow of betrayal, the sting of being left behind. And then he lifts his eyes, and softly he begins to speak words not born of strength, but of deep, hidden trust. You hem me in behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Psalm 139, 5. The words echo through the cave like a song, but softer, more like a lifeline than a declaration. You feel their truth wash over you. God was with David, even here, especially here, and suddenly you know He's with you too. The fog of your life, the ache of feeling left out, unseen, misunderstood, starts to lift. Not all at once, but slowly, gently, like dawn. Jesus sits beside you now, not in the cave, not in the past, but in your present. He looks you in the eyes, and there's no pity in His gaze, only understanding. He's been in caves before. He's felt what you feel, and He stayed, not out of obligation, but out of love. You begin to cry, not because you're falling apart, but because, maybe for the first time, you know you don't have to hold it all in. You're not forgotten, not passed over, not alone. Jesus reaches for your hand. I've always been with you, He says, gently, even in the moments no one else saw. Especially then, you breathe, you weep, you feel relief like rain. The cave starts to glow. The walls no longer feel like confinement, but like shelter. The fog outside the door thins, and warm light spills in. Jesus smiles and rises, still holding your hand. Let's walk into the light. And this time, your heart believes it's possible, not because you're strong, but because He never left. Even in hidden places, even in lonely nights, even in the fog, you were never forgotten. You've cried in secret. The kind of tears that only fall when no one else is around. When the house is quiet, when the mask comes off, when your soul finally says what your mouth never could. You've broken in the dark, prayed into silence, and sometimes you've wondered if anyone sees if He sees. But Jesus does. He meets you in that silence. He doesn't rush your sorrow or try to explain it away. Instead, He reaches out His hand and says, "Come, I want to show you something." And then everything shifts. The room fades. and you find yourself standing beside an old man. His hair is white, his face weathered by years of exile and visions. John, you are on the rocky island of Patmos. The sea churns in the distance, but John isn't looking at the ocean. He's looking far beyond it, eyes fixed on something you can't yet see. He begins to speak, his voice trembling, not with fear, but with awe. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and then the words that still echo through eternity. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. Revelation 21:4. Suddenly, you see it too. A world made whole. No more goodbyes, no more grief buried under polite smiles. No more silent nights filled with aching. You see the throne, the light, the beauty. But what stops you cold is what happens next. Jesus turns toward you. He steps forward, not as a distant king, but as the one who knows every tear you've cried. He reaches out, and with the gentlest touch, wipes your cheek. Not just symbolic, but deeply real. You feel the weight behind his touch, like he's been there for every moment, every heartbreak, every diagnosis, every funeral, every prayer whispered with shaking hands. And then he whispers, "Your sorrow is not wasted. I keep every tear." You look into his eyes, and they're not filled with pity. They're filled with love, protective love, the kind that refuses to let your pain disappear unnoticed, the kind that has woven your grief into a future redemption so stunning you can barely take it in. For the first time, your pain feels seen by eternity. All the things you thought were too small, too personal, too buried, he's kept them like precious treasure, like seeds that will one day bloom in joy you haven't yet imagined. The vision begins to fade, but the hope stays with you. The Jesus who wipes away every tear in eternity is the same Jesus who sits with you now. He takes your hand. There's no rush, just quiet strength, gentle presence. Then ahead of you, a door appears. It pulses with quiet hope, the kind that doesn't shout, but steadies your feet. Jesus looks at you again, not as someone who needs to get over it, but as someone he refuses to leave in the dark. Let's keep walking, he says. You are never alone in your sorrow. And this time, as you walk through the door, you carry not just your grief, but the promise that every tear will be answered. There's a question buried deep inside you, one you've never quite been able to silence. Am I really loved? Not the surface kind of love, not the polite, conditional kind, but the kind that stays, that sees every flaw and still chooses you. Some days, you feel like too much. Other days, not enough. And though you smile, the doubt lingers. Jesus doesn't scold you for it. Instead, he gently takes your hand, not to drag you forward, but to lead you somewhere quiet. A room unfolds before you. Its walls are lined with scrolls, parchment, ink-stained letters written across centuries. You run your fingers across one and feel warmth pulse beneath your skin. Jesus pauses in front of a worn scroll and reads aloud, "Nothing will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus, our Lord." Romans 8:39. As the words settle in the air, everything shifts. You find yourself in a dark stone. Chains clink softly in the stillness. A man sits near the narrow light of a window, hunched over parchment. His wrists are bruised, but his face is radiant. Paul, he's writing, not with despair, but with fire, hope, certainty, as if his soul sees something more real than prison walls. You draw closer and feel it, the force behind the words he pens, neither death nor life, angels nor demons, the present nor the future, nor any powers, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God. Paul glances up, and for a moment, it's like he sees you, really sees you. The one who still doubts if they're lovable. The one who hides behind perfection or silence. The one who wonders if God's love could actually be that steady. And then you feel it. Not an idea, not a verse memorized in childhood, but love living, breathing, unbreakable, pressing in on every side. Not because you're perfect, but because He is. Jesus steps closer and places his hand over your heart. My love for you doesn't weaken when you question it. He says, it holds even when you can't. You blink, and the prison walls begin to fade, but the love remains thicker than air, more solid than stone. It wraps around your doubt and pulls it close, not to shame it, but to redeem it. You realize something anchors in your soul, not confidence in yourself, but confidence in him. The Jesus who loved Peter when he denied, who loved Thomas when he doubted, who loved Paul through prison bars. That same Jesus loves you right now as you are. Ahead of you, the next door stands wide open, not because you've finally gotten it right, but because his love always makes a way. Jesus walks beside you, stead and sure. And this time, the question inside you quiets, not because it's been answered with logic, but because it's been answered with presence. You are loved unshakably, unbreakably. Always you carry it quietly, the grief no one fully understands. Some losses are obvious, others are silent, invisible to those around you, but they all weigh the same. Heavy, unspoken, lingering. You try to smile. You keep going. But deep down you wonder, will I ever feel joy again? Or has too much been lost? Jesus doesn't offer quick answers. Instead, he wraps you in stillness, not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that makes space for everything you're holding, the kind that feels like breath after weeping. And then a scent fills the air, warm, earthy, frankincense. It pulls you into another time, another place. You're sitting in a dim room, lit by flickering oil lamps. Before you, a man kneels, not writing, not preaching, but weeping. Paul, yes, the same man who once wrote with fire now trembles with sorrow. His shoulders shake. His face is buried in his hands. You've never imagined him this way. Not so human, so broken. But beside him, something begins to rise. Not strength, not solutions, but comfort. Not the soft, vague kind, but comfort that holds, that meets you in the ache and stays. You hear his voice now, hoarse but steady. Praise be to the Gun and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort. 2 Corinthians 1:3. The words settle over you like a blanket. This is not comfort from a distance, not a divine pat on the head, but the kind of comfort that kneels beside grief and says, I'm not leaving. You watch as Paul breathes in the presence, not pain-free, but no longer alone. His tears don't disappear, but they fall into hands that hold everyone. And then Jesus turns to you. He doesn't rush you, doesn't try to lift the weight off your chest all at once. He simply places a hand over your heart and whispers, I comfort not from a distance, but here with you. It doesn't take the grief away, not yet, but somehow you feel less alone inside it. The sorrow hasn't vanished, but it's no longer untouchable. There's something sacred in this, not escape, but presence, not forgetting, but being remembered. The warmth of that frankincense still lingers. It reminds you Jesus was wrapped in it at his birth, and again at his burial. He knows sorrow. He's been acquainted with grief, and still he came close. As you look up, a new door appears ahead. Its frame glows softly, not with dazzling light, but with gentle warmth, the kind of light that welcomes, not pressures. You're not running from your pain. You're walking with Jesus through it, and somehow that's enough for now. He offers you his hand again. You take it, not because you're over your grief, but because now you know he's walking with you in it. The God of comfort is not far away. He is here, with you, always. You've walked a long road, through pain, through questions, through silence and stillness, sorrow and surrender. You've come face to face with your fears, your longing, your weariness. And every time, Jesus met you there, not with noise, not with pressure, but with presence. And now you stand before the final door. There's no inscription, no light flashing behind it. Just a deep, quiet stillness, like a breath held in sacred waiting. Jesus looks at you. There's no urgency in his eyes, only calm. He opens the door, and this time, he doesn't lead. He simply walks beside you. You step into a place that feels familiar, not because you've seen it before, but because your soul remembers. It's a garden, the same one where everything once began. But now, the trees are fuller. The air is softer. The light is warm, not dazzling, but steady. It feels like peace made visible. No crowds, no miracles. Just him and you. You find a place beside him, beneath the branches, and you sit. For the first time in a long time, you don't feel like you have to say anything. Your soul is quiet, not because there are no more questions, but because the questions have found their place in his presence. Jesus doesn't speak right away. He just leans back, face toward the light, content to be with you. Then softly, a verse floats into the air. Not loud, not dramatic, just truth settling over your spirit like morning dew. Truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. Psalm 62. You let the word rest on you. You're not striving anymore, not performing, not holding everything together. You're no longer who you were when this began. The pain didn't destroy you. The doubts didn't disqualify you. The silence didn't separate you. You lean your head on his shoulder, not seeking something, just soaking in what already is. Peace, not a fragile peace dependent on circumstances, but the kind that has walked through fire and come out softer. You've come so far. Jesus says gently, and now live in my peace. He's not giving you peace as a reward. He's revealing it as your inheritance. Your identity is no longer wrapped in striving, surviving, fixing, or earning. It's wrapped in rest, in being deeply, securely loved and knowing it. The garden around you shimmers with this truth. You are home, not just in his peace, but of it. the world will still turn. Storms may come, but this peace is your anchor now. Jesus smiles, not because anything dramatic has happened, but because you stayed the journey, and you found what your soul had been longing for all along. Not a miracle, not an answer, not even a destination, but Him, and this moment, and the deep, soul-rooted truth. You are at peace. You are held. You are home.